Day 3 of training camp has just wrapped up, ladies and gentlemen, and as we near closer and closer to the Bulls' first preseason game on Tuesday, the guys are looking more and more ready and energized to get the season going. Or maybe that's just me getting excited and energized for the start of the season. I'm sure you guys have been seeing the quick clips that the Bulls have been putting on their social media channels that they've been putting out recently anyway. Go ahead and give it a watch if you have not. It's a great way to get an inside look into the practices with the new roster. But anyway, in today's video, I'll be giving a quick recap of day 3 of training camp, as well as some other general news. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, before I get into training camp, I did want to quickly touch on the latest in the Lonzo ball tampering investigation, as I continue to get asked, what's going on with this? When will we know when the investigation is completed? And what I'll say is, guys, your guess is as good as mine. And I know I continue to say that. I don't think even Bulls insiders know what the latest is on the investigation. It's obviously a topic that neither the Bulls or the NBA is going to comment on until the investigation is complete. All we know is that it is still ongoing. Now, it was thought by most, at least there was an expectation anyway, that the investigation would have been wrapped up before training camp, but of course that ended up not being the case. Now, you can potentially see that as being a good thing. The fact that it has taken this long to determine whether tampering took place in the Lonzo ball sign and trade before free agency opened, it could mean they're really searching deep on this one and just haven't been able to find anything that would suggest tampering had occurred. And for that reason, it's dragged on for so long, because one would think if tampering did occur, it should be pretty easy to determine that within a couple weeks or so. Like, it's not that hard, especially if you're just looking through phone calls, texts, emails, which is supposedly what the league is looking into. Like, you should be able to find something pretty quickly. So the fact that it has taken this long and to have the investigation still ongoing at this point gives me some hope that they just really haven't been able to find anything. Of course, I am 100% speculating on that, so take that with a grain of salt. Just my 2 cents on the matter. Now, there was a report that came out from NBA Central, if you follow them on Twitter, and this came from 670 The Score, that there is a belief that the Bulls could be docked a first-round pick in the Lonzo ball tampering case, which was kind of what we were all expecting anyway, if the Bulls are in fact found guilty. Now, what I don't understand is how the Pelicans wouldn't be penalized for something like this as well, but whatever, be that as it may, in any event, the Bulls being docked a first-round pick would be a pretty tough pill to swallow. I mean, I know the Bulls just acquired a first-round pick in that sign-and-trade deal for Lauri Markkanen, which is lottery protected. It's a pick from the Portland Trail Blazers. And the thought was that the front office really pushed to get this first-round pick as an insurance policy should they be found guilty in this investigation. But I mean, it still sucks to lose a first-round pick for absolutely nothing. It's one thing to lose it via a trade for another player or another asset, but either way, we'll obviously have to continue to wait and see what will actually come of this investigation. You would have to think that it will for sure be wrapped up before the start of the regular season. Otherwise, that would be kind of ridiculous if the season began and nothing had been concluded by that time. Now, in other news, there has been a lot of talk about Zach Lavine, his goals for the season, specifically as it relates to improving his defense. Now, if you watch Zach at all in the Olympics over the summer, Lavine clearly was much better on the defensive end than we have ever seen him play, particularly as it relates to playing off the ball, because we know Zach is decent on defense when guarding players on the ball. It's off the ball where he really loses focus, loses his man sometimes, doesn't follow through on switches, but in the Olympics, he was much more on top of that. And part of the reason for that was Pop really emphasized directly to Lavine, look, if you want to get playing time on this team, you're going to need to step it up on the defensive end, because this isn't NBA play. International level basketball is a different style of basketball. And for Team USA, they already had plenty of elite offensive scorers. They needed guys who were going to do things on both ends of the floor. And Lavine actually responded to that pretty well. So we know Lavine has the ability to play at least good defense. Not saying he's going to be an elite defender, but the guy can play defense when he really wants to. It's just a matter of putting that work and effort on the end of the floor. And Casey Johnson came out with an article from earlier this morning talking about how serious Lavine is in wanting to improve his defense this season and having it be a critical aspect to his game that can really take him from being a star level player to a superstar level player. And not only that, but taking the Bulls team to the next level of contention, because the biggest question mark this season for the Bulls is their defense. Now, I've said multiple times, I actually don't think the Bulls are going to be as bad on defense as the national media is making them out to be, but they're not going to be an elite defensive team. And in order for them to be truly great, as a great team anyway, a title contending team, they're going to need to step it up on the defensive end. So you have to like hearing that from Lavine, that, you know, he is going to be taking his defense very seriously this season, because if he truly wants to be a superstar in this league, he has to step it up on that end of the floor. And if he does, it will translate into winning. Now, reporters have been saying that Lavine just visibly looks happier and pleased in training camp, being around the level of talent this roster now has. And you can see that in the images and videos that have been released thus far. Rob Schaefer also shared today that the Bulls ran some dribble handoff drills during practice. Alex Caruso evidently was complimented by one of the assistant coaches on his ability to fight through screens, and his response on that was, quote, "I said for 3 years that's all that I was allowed to do," unquote, which it's kind of funny. I mean, I don't think he was really directly throwing shade at LeBron and the Lakers for limiting his role to only that. Obviously, he was tasked with doing more than just fighting through screens on the Lakers. But for Caruso, you know, I think he's looking forward to having a bigger role on a different team than what he had on the Lakers. The Bulls are really going to have to rely heavily on his perimeter defense off the bench, and he's really going to be one of the best defenders in this lineup. Not only that, but while Coby's out, still rehabbing from his shoulder injury, there is going to be an expectation that he does pick up some of that slack on the scoring front in the second unit, because people forget that Caruso, yes, you know, for the most part, he's better known for his defense and being a scrappy defender, but he can also shoot. He shot 40% from 3 last season on 2.4 attempts per game, and we all know the dude has hops. You know, he's had some highlight level dunks in his career. So with Coby being out, I do expect he'll be putting up more shots than we saw last year while he was on the Lakers. We were able to get an update on Patrick Williams today as well. Billy Donovan mentioned that Patrick has been able to work out on the treadmill and healing that ankle that he injured, mainly just walking. He's not really close to running quite yet. But what I did like hearing was that Billy Donovan said that Patrick has been coming in at night and getting up shots to keep up with his conditioning, which of course Billy Donovan said in media day that that was going to be an important aspect for Patrick in this offseason to ensure that he is keeping up with his conditioning despite the setback of his ankle injury. Donovan also added that they feel pretty good about the way that he's progressing thus far. However, no new timeline for his return has been shared. It still remains 4 to 6 weeks from the time he injured his ankle on the 15th, just a little over 2 weeks ago. I will say it has been a bit surprising of the limited coverage of training camp this season, you know, both just in the footage of the practices themselves, but also in the interviews and conversations that the media is having with the players. I mean, this is even less than last season's training camp, despite being at the height of the pandemic at that time. I don't know if it's just the front office wanting limited media coverage of training camp, or if it's strict measures are in place to keep distance from players since, you know, we're still in a pandemic, but I find that unlikely given those guys are going to be playing in stadiums as early as next week with a full house of fans. So it's a little odd. I honestly expected this to be a packed and full week of news and updates around training camp, especially for the Bulls, because it's such a new change to the roster, and you think there would be a lot of media coverage around this team during training camp, but I guess maybe everyone is just waiting for games to start kicking off. Who knows? Speaking of which, if you were following my channel during last season, you know that I had live game chats for every game last year. Let me know if you guys would still be interested in that for this upcoming season. I may even do it for some of the preseason games as well. Also, at the beginning of the off season this year, I did a live Q&A session where you guys could ask me any questions that you want, and I know some people have asked for that or something similar to that again, so let me know in the comments if you would like to see another live stream Q&A session as we get closer to the start of the season. Also, I figured this would be as good of time as any to ask anything else that you guys want to see during the season, whether it's a particular series of videos, continue with the hot takes videos, post-game reactions, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments what you want to see, and of course, guys, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I'll be covering the Bulls all season long, posting daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.